Bezos Hashem, today's Amud is Daf Chaf Gimel Amud Beis. We're in the middle of Torah Zayin. So far we've learned that Yer and Ava come to us through the Tzaddik being Megala, the Hispyrus which he has in Klal Yisrael. That the reason why Hashem made the world was for Klal Yisrael. The reason why Hashem made every prat in this world was because of every individual in Klal Yisrael. And all the small details of this world are because of all the small details of every Yid. And the tzaddik who finds the hispyrus for that Hashem has in Klal Yisrael, b'chlal, b'fratu, pratipatius, then through that he's megala the Ratzon Hashem. Why Hashem wanted this world, b'chlal, b'fratu, b'pratipatius. And when he brings out that hispyrus, then it's like a king putting on his big day hispyrus, which inspires awe and yira, everyone who sees him. And the same way when a king puts on his big day hispyrus on a special day, he also is meraimim and gives matanas to his subjects, and that inspires in them ava. So too, during the time when the tzaddik is megala the hispyrus which Hashem has with Klal Yisrael, then he's megala the ratzon which Hashem has in this world and the male in Klal Yisrael, and he's megala the ratzon he has with every single individual of Klal Yisrael, and every single detail of everything you have. So that brings us to Avos Hashem. So we have Yiras Hashem when we see the hispyrus, the big day hispyrus Hashem has, that he Kav Yachol is misparing Klal Yisrael, and when we see the ratzon he has in us and the ratzon he has in this world, then that brings us to Ava. But we don't always feel that, because the person can be right next to the tzaddik, and the tzaddik has been galad to him, the Ava and the Yira, the Spirus, but we don't feel it because Nechshach Tzleinu Ar Tzaddik, because we were mekalkal our maisim and because Achiras HaSeichel, that it causes us, even if we're right next to a great Ur, but we don't feel it. We only feel Choshech. So the way to be misakin the Ksilas HaSeichel is through Tikkun HaMizbech. We learned that Tikkun HaMizbech is that the person should be misakin his achila, because a person needs to eat in order to have a healthy seichel. But if a person eats too much, then fakert, it makes his seichel. It brings a ksilas seichel. I said that the way you are misakin the seichel is through the inyan of gerim. The inyan of gerim, we said, is the inyan of the people who are far away from kedusha, to bring them into kedusha, and the way while we do that is being megala to them the Ara Muna, and that is done through the inyan of ksav. Ksav is the inyan that when a person wants to say something very, very far to someone far away, then we say he has to speak in an oifen which will be heard. So when there's a good atmosphere and a good weather, when the air is calm, then the further your voice carries, and until there's a point that your voice could carry even further with ksav. A person writes a letter, so the more we increase the good ear, the avira, the avir hanoch v'azoch, the Rebbe calls it, then the more this calm air, then the further out the voice and the coil of the tzaddik could go out, and it could go on to further places into ksav. And by giving tzedakah, which is, the Rebbe says, that's the main maisa which we could do in order to, through tzedakah and chesed, we as it is say, we buy friends. A person buys friends, so to speak, which means that the more chesed the person does, and the more you do chesed in the way that it has hashpah on more and more people, especially if you give tzedakah to a tzaddik, and so on and so forth, then you increase the shetach of aver, anoch v'azoch, that the ar tzaddik and the diburim of the tzaddik could be heard even further and further away. So we said why is it that if the tzaddik now has Avra Nachva Zoch and he's talking, and it is l'chari his diburim are going further and further, why only certain people hear it? Still, now we know how it goes further away, but how come only certain people hear it, other people don't? So he said that there's toiv, which is kavush by the akum, because throughout the Darius, there were always gezeres that didn't let Klal Yisrael keep the Torah, like Shabbos, Mila, that are biggest examples, or even Stam, that all the Mitzvim, Varnonius, and all the Shibudim, which the Gullus puts on us, that doesn't give us the time and the energy to be Isaac and Wednesday Hashem. So all the Torah and Mitzvahs, which because of the Gullus, we weren't able to be Mekayim, so that Toiv is kavush by the akum. And in the beginning, this toiv was remembered where it came from, and remembered that they're part of Klal Yisrael. That means these nekudas which Hashem is mispire, because we said before Hashem is mispire in Klal Yisrael, and Hashem is mispire in every prat in Klal Yisrael, and all the prati. So all these different nekudas of aspires that were prevented from Klal Yisrael because of the akum and the goyim and the galus. So Memela, they in the beginning they remember where they come from, and they remember where they came from, but they lost, they forgot who they are, they forgot where they're coming from, until one day this toiv finds hepech emunasim in their svarim. That means they open up a sefer and they find the diburim of the tzaddik, which is hepech of their emunah. Their emunah was fakert, not to believe in the spires of Klal Yisrael, and they lost that emunah and that memory of the hispires which Hashem has in Klal Yisrael, and Hashem is hispires in every prat in Klal Yisrael, every pratis in Klal Yisrael, and they forgot how Hashem was kavyachol mesiyaitz with Nishmas Yisrael when He created the world, and the Moedik Chashivas of a Yid. And only now, when we make the Avra Nachva Zoch, that the Dibur are able to reach them, and they find in their own books Hepech Emunasam. So then these Nekudas of Toiv start being mitzvah, and they try to be Moshech themselves to come back to Klal Yisrael. And sometimes they're so connected to Avodah Zarah, and so that when they take themselves out and they schlep themselves out, they schlep themselves out together with parts of with parts of Ra, which means sometimes a person does tshuva, that person starts understanding and remembering who he is and where he comes from, and how much Hashem is mispire in him, and how much all the toiv in him Hashem is mispire in him. Then he tries to do tshuva, and it's hard for him. And when he's miskaber and he forces himself to tshuva, he schleps with him even chilke hara, which, so to speak, are miskayer together with his tshuva. So now, sometimes the ra is so ma'alim, the toiv, and covers up the toiv so much that comes out. It doesn't even come out then. It comes out zer yuloidim, that the neshamas are born. Yiddish and neshamas are born into into mishpachos, and which are fakert, and these neshamas are born, and they're miskayer. The Rebbe says it comes out zer yuludim. So then the Rebbe teaches us into the Rebbe Safra Mishtoi. Rebbe Safra says, one time I was going on a ship and I saw a fish that took out its head from the water, and it had karnayim, it had horns which had chokak and were etched onto the horns. Ana birya kala shabayam. I'm one of a small birya in the yam. Vavina shin parsi, and this fish was 300 parsais. And said it said weiter on the horn, I'm now going into the mouth of the Vyasan. So Rav Ashi, when he heard the story, said this fish was the Iza de Yama, the bechisha that is a dug in the sand, and it has karnaim, it has horns. So what was this fish? So it says, I saw a fish. This is a toiv, the chelke nishmas Yisrael. Because why is that? Because we say, but the Chazal say dogim asifasam he mitarasa. Normally, you need shchit in order to mitar meat, but fish, the meat of a fish is asifasan. Is mitar them. They become mutter to eat just by taking them out of the water. That's the chelke nishmas Yisrael. The pasuk said ruchay v'nishmasa elav ye'osif. The pasuk was talking about Nedive Amim Nasafu. They're bringing people from Goyim, Nedive Amim, and being megar them is in of Asifa. And that's why Chachamim call Balei Sufais, because the Ma'asif, the Toiv, the Ma'asif, the Gerim, and the Toiv together with the Gerim. So this in of Isuf of a fish that Asifasan Himitarasan, that we're trying to be Ma'asif. Try to be ma'asif this toiv together with the gerim, that when we remind the toiv where they come from, and together with them it schleps the gerim with them. So that's the dag, and it took out its head from the water. That the way we're makarev it is by taking the seichel out of the water, the mayim zedonim, the ksilis, which is shotif and the seichel, which is stopping it from hearing and seeing the arat tzadik. So it has horns. That's in tzedakah. Why? Karna, ha'yos Ephraim rabbim, because tzedakah is a keren, a kemes olam haba. Chesed is a keren, a kemes olam haba, and that says about tzedakah, v'ayze goes l'mata, v'anigunans to l'mala. So through tzedakah, that's chokuk, it's etched onto this karnaim, onto this keren of tzedakah, that it makes that, which means that through these karnaim, through the tzedakah, we're able to make a chakika of ksav, that the diburim of the tzaddik are able to carry on further and further as a ksav. And Shmoi Hodach B'Chol Medinais, and this toiv reminds itself when it reads this ksav, and because it sees the diburim of the tzaddik in its own books, and he realizes Ana Bria Kala Shabayam, that I'm a Bria Kala, I'm the lightest Bria in the Yam. How is that? The Yam is a Yud and a Mem. The Mem is a 40, which is the 4 lamas, and Yud is a Chachma. It's a Bria Kala. What's a Bria Kala? Because we know that the lighter something is, the more it floats. The Rebbe says. We know that the less dense something is, the more that floats in water. So, which means that this neshama that realizes that it's a Bria Kala Shabayam, it realizes that it's on top of everything. It's floating on top of everything. That everything in this world is nothing compared to it, because it's the Bria Kala. It's the Bria which floats on top of everything. The toiv of Klal Yisrael, the toiv of every prat in Klal Yisrael, and the toiv of prati protius of everyone in Klal Yisrael, is the Bria Kala. This Bria Kala Shabayom, this dog which asifasani metarasa is metaret. It floats on top of everything. It's on top of everything, and because it realizes that's when it sees the ksav of the dibur of the tzaddik, he realizes it's shin parsois. He remembers it's Yisrael olam machshava techila, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu is nimlachem siyaitz with it prepares the olam, and he realizes what it's a maila. That's the idea of shin parsois, 300 parsois, because that's the 3 rushim of the shin, which machshav sichlis, machshav smidos, ma'asiyos. And that's shin parsois. Pars is the idea of etza, pars is the idea of a foot, a regel, that we realize as a Klal Yisrael, Hashem created the world for Klal Yisrael. Hashem was nimlach and nishmas Yisrael based b'ris olam. And now and he realizes that he's getting lost, being stuck where he is. He's going into the mouth of the Leviathan. Means he's going to Kli v'Hefsid. He's stuck in this place of Tumah, far away from Kedusha. So Rav Ashi said that this neshama, which is necessary to do tshuva, to be nesasef, because he doesn't want to fall into the mouth of the Leviathan, into the mouth of this big whale. He realizes that bir kalel shabayom, and he doesn't want to fall into Kli v'Hefsid. So when he does that and he does tshuva and he's misgayer, then he helps that high Isa the Yama. This is like the ez of the Yam. That through this whole mahalach was zeichet to Yira, because we said kisiver suzamay ata, that because we said when these people are misgayer, then it's megala the spires, because now it's misakin the seichel, it's misakin ara seichel. And through the Sakan Arasech will be able to, then we're also able to see, every Pasha person is able to see the Ar Tzaddik. And now we're able to see the Hisparius that Hashem has in Klal, so we could also see that. And that same Ar, which inspires the Rechoikim to do tshuva, is inspire everyone Klal to Yira and to Ava, the Bechisha, the Tzaddik who digs. That he digs to look after and to look to chapis tamid achad aspires of Kol Echad Yisrael, and has a karnaim, has a karna, and now he says karna is v'ritzoncha tarim karnenu. There's megalir ritzonis Hashem has with everyone in Klal Yisrael, that he gives everyone is mereimim everyone and gives everyone keren and picks them up. And now their attention to the pasuk v'hi merikim sakayim. So sak is lav sheshamayim kadres for sak. That they when they emptied out their sak, they emptied out their shemayim. They got emptied out from the Avan Yira, because the Avan Yira became choshech. How is that? Because then what's it taken? Then the tzur kaspa is in the sak. The tzur kaspa is a tzaddik. In the pasuk that tzar kesef lokach biyadai, Rashi says it's going to tzaddikim. That what happens when the tzar kesef is besakoi, the ar tzaddik becomes covered with a sack. It's nechshach etzloi ar tzaddik. That the person feels choshech, and he doesn't feel the year in the ava that with the tzaddik's megala. How is that? So what should you do? V'yiras tzeres kaspim him avim. So they realize that it's totally in the Haim of Aviyim, in the Chayim and Tzura, in the Klei Maisa and the Seichel, that the only way to misaken it, to go back to a place of able to see the Ar Seichel, the Ar HaTzadik, is by being misaken the Chayim and Tzura. And how do you do that? So the seichel, Vayemel Yaakov Aviyim, the seichel, which is Yaakov Aviyim, is mechirech them that oisi shikatem, and through the mais machurim, you were mafseh seichel. Yosef, and the reason why is because Yosef enenu, because you weren't moisif han Yosef and Rabbim, because he didn't give tzedakah, he didn't give chesed. Memela, there's no avar nach v'azoch. If you have the seichel mechirech said that because you didn't give tzedakah and chesed, and you didn't do the mais from chesed, memela, there's no avar nach v'azoch. And if there's no avar nach v'azoch, then the diburim and orvat tzaddik can't go out and can't be nishma merachik. V'shimin enenu, so you don't have the shimin, you don't have the shmiya. There's no v'shama hadach b'chol ha'madinos, that we can't hear the diburim of tzaddik. The diburim of tzaddik don't go further and further out. That's biyam tikachu. Biyam is a chelik of the zbeach. Memela is no tikkun zbeach, which as we say is tikkun tav sachila. So in other words, if we're misakin this, the eitzah is if through giving tzedakah and through chesed, which is doing ma'asim tovim, through these ma'asim tovim, we make more avar noch v'azach, and we make more of a good atmosphere, that the Dibur Tzaddik can go further and further and inspire more and more people to realize the Toiv HaKovash Etzlam, that they shouldn't, they should realize that they're really neshama is very, very hoich neshama is bir kal shabayam, that they float over everything and they float over everyone, and they're falling into killian vehefsed rachman, and they and we're able to do tshuva to pull themselves away from the ra, and when they do tshuva, they'll schlep other people with them, and they'll schlep chilkei ra with them to mehapech everything to toiv, and that's besakin the mizbeach, and that helps us. And that tikkun ha mizbeach, tikkun ha maisim is besakin the seichel, that the seichel will become lichtig, that we'll be able to hear the Ar HaTzadik, that we'll be able to hear and be able to see the Ar HaTzadik. And when we see the Ar HaTzadik, we'll be able to see how the Tzaddik is nachamah being megala, the aspirates which he has in Klal Yisrael, which will megal to us the yira for Hashem, and that will be ma'aris to avas Hashem. Hashem is Zakenu.